I never thought I would be the kind of person who deleted Instagram completely, because for years it felt like the only place anyone ever really saw me. I liked the quiet applause of strangers who noticed the same small things I did, the way morning light pooled on a wooden floorboard, the exact shade of blue in a thrift store mug, the hush of an empty street just before the city woke up and started shouting. My account was public because I wanted those strangers to find me. I wanted to feel seen without ever having to speak out loud. The handle was simply at Mara.Ellison, nothing clever, nothing hidden, and the night everything began I had 1,942 followers, most of whom had never once typed a single word to me. That changed the last week of September when I accepted a follow request from Elias Riv. His profile picture was a candid that looked almost accidental. A man in a navy canvas jacket leaning against a brick wall somewhere downtown, late afternoon light cutting across his face, half smile, dark hair falling into his eyes. There were only 12 posts, all film photographs. Rooftops glowing at blue hour, subway platforms with a single person waiting under fluorescent light. Wet pavement reflecting neon signs in languages I couldn't read, and his bio was short and unpretentious. 35mm and black coffee. I followed back because the photos were beautiful and because I recognized the loneliness in them. It was the same loneliness I carried around like a second coat. He didn't message right away. First, he just liked things, quietly, the way you test whether a floorboard creaks. An old photo from May of my legs dangling off the fire escape at sunset. One from February of a book open on my kitchen table with coffee rings overlapping on the wood. Then, 3 nights after I accepted his follow, the DM arrived. "Hey Mara, the fire escape photo is perfect. What body are you shooting with?" It was polite, specific, the kind of message I got maybe once a month from another film nerds, so I told him it was just my phone with a cheap editing app. He sent back a laughing emoji and wrote that he was stubborn, still on Portra 400 and a beat-up Nikon FM2, and we talked for an hour about grain structure and how nothing digital ever quite matches the way film forgives mistakes. He asked if I'd ever been in a darkroom. I said no, but I'd love to try someday, and he said he had a small setup in his loft, nothing fancy, just a Jobo processor and trays in the bathroom, and that I was welcome anytime. I said that was sweet, maybe one day, and left it there. That was how it began. Small, careful, warm. He never typed after midnight, never asked where I lived or what I did for money, just sent photos of negatives clipped to a string across his kitchen, backlit by a window so the images glowed amber and cyan. And when I posted a 15-second story of rain sliding down my bedroom window, he replied with a 6-second voice note of the same rain recorded from somewhere else in the city, the drops sounding heavier, closer. I played it 3 times and saved it without meaning to. October slid in cold, and I started looking forward to the little notification bubble that meant he'd seen a story. I started framing shots differently, angling the phone so the light would fall the way I thought he'd like, and one morning I posted a flat lay of my keys, wallet, and cafe apron on the counter before my chipped blue mug I always use. No caption, no location. And he replied in 30 seconds. "Careful with that key photo. Someone could probably duplicate the house key from the silhouette." I stared at the message longer than I should have because the image was blurry and the key half in shadow, but I deleted the story anyway and told myself he was just being thoughtful. A week later I posted a story from inside the cafe where I open every morning. The La Marzocco hissing, steam curling, morning light cutting hard across the blue tiles, the bag of Stumptown beans visible on the shelf, no geotag, no text, and he replied instantly, "That exact same machine is at my usual place. Same beans too. Small world." I laughed, wrote back, "Good eye," and went on with the rush. And at 2:11 that afternoon, the bell above the door chimed, and there he was. Navy jacket, same posture, same half smile, looking exactly like his photos, maybe an inch taller than I expected. He ordered a double espresso, no room, and when I slid it across, he met my eyes and said, "Mara, right? I'm Elias." I felt my face go warm and laughed out loud, and he laughed too, soft and a little embarrassed, saying he'd been shooting a block over and saw the tiles through the window, recognized them from my story, hoped it wasn't weird. It wasn't weird. It was the opposite of weird. It was like stepping into one of my own photographs and finding someone already waiting there. and we talked for 20 minutes while I cleaned the steam wand and restocked cups. He told me he freelanced for a couple of music magazines, that he was between apartments right now, crashing with a friend in Bed-Stuy, and when he left, he lifted one hand in a small wave and said, "See you online." After that, he became part of the cafe's rhythm. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes Sunday if I picked up brunch. Always the same table by the window, always the same order, always paid with crumpled bills. And when it was quiet, he'd spin the Leica toward me and show me the frame counter, tell me what he was trying to catch that day. He listened when I talked about wanting to move somewhere the trains didn't scream all night, remembered I was reading Murakami in publication order, and one Thursday slid a water-damaged copy of Kafka on the shore across the bar, saying it was a stoop sale find, thought of me. I started saving the chair across from him when the morning rush ended, started wearing the sweater he once said looked good in a story photo, started posting more because I knew he would notice. Then the first week before Christmas, I posted a story from my living room window. Fresh snow on the fire escape, the street below glowing orange under the streetlights, no people, no cars, just quiet. Taken at 11:47 p.m., before I went straight to bed, and he replied with a photograph taken from the sidewalk looking up. My window the only one lit, the silhouette of me standing at the glass holding the phone. "Beautiful night," he wrote. I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the image for a long time because the snow on the fire escape was smooth, unbroken. I would have heard metal groan under weight. I would have heard boots. I didn't answer, and I didn't answer him either. I archived the story and turned my phone face down. The next afternoon he came in at the usual time, ordered his espresso, smiled the same gentle smile, and said quietly, "Hey, you okay?" My mouth went dry, and I said, "Yeah, just tired." And he studied me for a second, then nodded like he understood something I hadn't said, took his cup to the window table and stayed until we locked the doors. When he stood to leave, he paused beside the pastry case and said, "Take care of yourself, Mara." His voice soft, almost sad. And then he left, and the cafe suddenly felt too big. He didn't come back the next day or the next, and his account kept updating, new rolls of film, new empty streets. But the little eye icon never appeared on my stories again. January was brutal. The city turned the color of wet concrete, and I stopped posting anything with windows or doors, stopped posting my face, started hearing footsteps in the hallway that stopped outside my apartment, and then moved on. I bought a baseball bat and kept it beside the bed, started checking the locks 3, 4, 5 times before sleep. One night toward the end of the month, I came home late from a coworker's birthday drinks, and the hallway smelled faintly of cigarette smoke, even though smoking has been banned in the building for years. My door was unlocked. I stood in the corridor with my keys digging into my palm until my hand went numb, and when I finally pushed the door open, nothing was missing. Nothing was broken, but every drawer in my dresser had been slid out an inch and closed again. My laundry basket had been carried from the closet and placed exactly in the center of the bedroom floor, and on top of the folded clothes lay a strip of 35mm film, 4 frames, still slightly tacky from Fixer. Me asleep on my stomach asleep, hair across my face, mouth open. Me in the shower, curtain half transparent with steam. Me at the kitchen sink at 2:14 a.m. 2 nights earlier, staring into darkness. Me turning the deadbolt from the inside, shot through the peephole from the hallway side. I called the police. 2 officers came, took the film in an evidence bag, told me to change the locks again and consider staying with family, and I slept on my sister's couch for 6 nights. When I came back, I installed a chain, a bar for the window track, a cheap Wi-Fi camera pointed at the front door. February. I quit the cafe, found a new job in a corporate place in Long Island City with fluorescent lights and no windows, and a manager who didn't know my last name. Found a new apartment on the 12th floor of a high-rise with a doorman and a buzzer system that actually worked. Paid professional movers so I wouldn't have to be in the old place alone after dark. Scrubbed every surface with bleach until my hands cracked. Deactivated at Mara.Ellison and made a new private account with only 63 people I had met in real life. The first night in the new apartment, I slept 12 hours without dreaming. 3 weeks passed in perfect silence, and then last Monday I worked a double shift and got home just after 11:30 p.m. The night doorman Ramon nodded as I signed the log. The elevator took forever, and when the doors opened on 12, the hallway was empty except for a thick cream envelope halfway under my door. My first name written in black fountain pen, handwriting I would know anywhere. Inside were 12 prints on heavy fiber paper still carrying the faint chemical smell of a darkroom. Me unlocking the old cafe at 5:27 a.m. the week after I quit. Me on the subway platform at Steinway, scarf pulled up to my eyes. Me walking out of the new corporate cafe with a paper cup. My new building from across the street with my bedroom window circled in red. My new bedroom taken from the foot of the bed while I slept. Time-stamped 3:09 a.m. 4 nights ago. My new kitchen at 6:02 yesterday morning. Me in the same gray t-shirt I was wearing right now making coffee unaware. Me in the elevator tonight with grocery bags in both arms staring down at my phone. Me in the hallway an hour ago bending to pick up the envelope. The Ring camera feed from my old apartment the night I moved out. Empty corridor 2:07 a.m. The lens slowly fogging as if someone had leaned in close to breathe on it. And 3 close-ups of my new door lock, the deadbolt, the chain, each taken so near, the glass was clouded with breath. On the back of the final print in the same neat handwriting, "New light looks good on you, still drink it black?" Yesterday morning, Ramon buzzed my intercom to say someone had left a package for 12G, brown paper, no return address, and inside was the copy of Kafka on the Shore Elias gave me months ago. The page where the boy named Crow says, "Close your eyes and you'll remember everything," folded down, and underneath in soft pencil. "I miss the way you used to talk to me. We should catch up. I haven't left the apartment in 4 days. I keep the lights off, the chain on, and I check the Ring camera in the hallway every 30 seconds. At 3:14 this morning, it caught 12 seconds of motion, the corridor empty, then the lens fogging slowly, deliberately, the way it does when someone stands an inch away and exhales, a soft sound, almost a whisper too low to make out words, and then the feed cut to black. I opened Instagram on my laptop an hour ago because the app isn't even installed on my phone anymore, and @Eliasriv has requested to follow my new private account. His current profile picture is me asleep in this bed taken from directly above, the duvet pulled to my chin, time-stamped 2:58 a.m. The little green dot has been solid for 57 minutes. He is typing. He has been typing the entire time. He still hasn't sent whatever it is he wants to say. I think he's waiting for me to turn the light on. My mother died on March 14, 2023, and the silence that followed her was absolute. She collapsed in her kitchen while watering the African violets she had tended for decades, the plastic can slipping from her fingers and spilling across the floor in a slow, deliberate arc that soaked into the linoleum like blood that refused to clot. I found her an hour later, still kneeling, head resting against the lower cabinet as though she had simply decided to sit and wait for me. The paramedics said it was instantaneous, an aneurysm that burst without warning, but I have never believed anything in life is truly instantaneous. There is always a moment before the moment, a breath held too long. I sat with her body until the coroner arrived, holding the hand that had once tucked me in every night, feeling the warmth leave it degree by degree. The funeral was small and gray, the kind of March day where the sky seems pressed low against the earth. Afterward, I returned to her house alone and began the slow archaeology of closing a life, canceling the newspaper, forwarding the mail, gathering the photographs she kept in shoeboxes under her bed. Her Instagram was the last account I touched. At linda.morrow.1959. She had used it sparingly, posting images of her garden in bloom, sunsets over the lake, the occasional book stacked beside a cup of chamomile tea. The final post, dated March 13th, was a close-up of a single violet, its petals the color of fresh bruises, captioned, "First bloom of the season. Some things keep coming back no matter what." I read it over and over, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Then I logged out and closed the lid of her laptop, believing the account would remain frozen in time. A quiet monument. Nearly 2 years passed before anything disturbed that stillness. It was early February 2025, a night so cold the air itself seemed brittle, when my phone buzzed against the coffee table with a notification I had never expected to see again. Instagram, at linda.morrow.1959, posted for the first time in 1 year. My first reaction was physical, a sudden hollowness behind the sternum, as though something had reached in and scooped out whatever had begun to heal. I opened the app with fingers that felt thick and useless. The new post was there, pinned to the top of the profile like a fresh wound. The same kitchen windowsill, the same African violets, but photographed in a light I did not recognize. Warm, late-afternoon gold that belonged to spring, not the iron-gray February outside my own window. The flowers were fuller than I remembered, almost swollen, their leaves glossy and dark. The caption was only 2 words: still blooming. The post had already collected 7 likes, quiet little hearts from accounts I recognized, old neighbors, her book club friends, people who had left condolence cards on the porch 2 years earlier. One of them had commented, "Linda? Is that really you?" I stared at the screen until the letters blurred, then went to the profile itself. The avatar was unchanged. Mom in her wide-brimmed garden hat, smiling the small private smile she saved for flowers and for me when I was very small. The bio was unchanged. The follower count was unchanged. Only that single new post existed, as if the account had simply exhaled after holding its breath for 23 months. I tried to be rational. Accounts get hacked, drafts publish years late, glitches happen. I messaged one of the likers, Diane, who had lived 3 houses down for 30 years, and asked if she knew anything. She replied quickly, "I thought you were keeping her memory alive, Tommy. It made me cry in the best way." I did not correct her use of my childhood nickname. That night, I logged into Mom's account for the first time since the funeral, using the password I had never changed, her wedding date, 08081981, and searched every corner, drafts, archived posts, activity log. Nothing. The log showed the photo had been uploaded at 4:17 p.m. from an unrecognized device. I changed the password to something long and random, enabled every security setting available, forced logout on all sessions, and sat in the dark afterward listening to the radiator clank like bones. 3 days later, another post appeared while I was on my lunch break at work. The notification chimed softly, almost politely. This time it was the lake path at sunset, the water glassy and peach-colored, the old bench in the foreground, the one with the brass plaque dedicated to my father. Mom used to walk there every evening at dusk, no matter the weather, claiming the light over the water settled her thoughts. The photo captured the sky in a gradient she had always described as the color of forgiveness. The caption read, "Same bench, same sky. Some things never leave." By the time I saw it, there were 39 likes and a string of comments that twisted my stomach. "We miss you so much. This can't be real. Linda, please." I reported the post immediately, and within hours, Instagram removed it for impersonation, but not before I had screenshotted everything. The activity log, when I checked again, showed no trace of the upload. It was as if the account itself refused to acknowledge what it had done. The direct messages began a week after that. The first arrived just past midnight on a night when the wind was rattling my windows hard enough to sound like someone trying to get in. The notification simply said at Linda Morrow 1959 sent you a message. I opened it with the same dread I once felt hearing the phone ring late at night when I was a child. The message was a single block of text. "You used to fall asleep on my lap while I read The Velveteen Rabbit. Do you remember what the skin horse told the rabbit about becoming real?" I remembered every word. She had read that book to me so many times the spine cracked along the same line, her voice soft and steady, smelling of lavender hand cream and chamomile. The skin horse said that becoming real happens when a child loves you for a long, long time, until all your hair is loved off and your eyes drop out and you get loose in the joints, but that it doesn't happen to people who break easily or have sharp edges or who have to be carefully kept. I sat very still in the dark and typed back, "Who is this? This isn't funny." The typing indicator appeared at once, 3 pulsing dots that felt like a heartbeat. The reply came in 2 messages. "It doesn't happen all at once. You become. It takes a long time." And then, "I miss the sound of you breathing when you were small, Tommy. You always sighed twice before you let go." Only she called me Tommy. Not Tom, not Thomas, never anything but Tommy, even when I was 35 and paying her bills and driving her to doctor appointments. I blocked the account, reported it, deleted the app entirely, and lay awake until morning listening for footsteps that never quite arrived. The accounts multiplied after that, each one a slight variation, at Linda.m.Morrow, at Linda Morrow 1959, at Linda_Morrow_Gardner, like echoes searching for the right shape. Each sent one message, and then went silent when blocked, but the messages accumulated in my mind like snow that refuses to melt. One recalled the way I used to hide under the kitchen table during thunderstorms, pressing my hands over my ears while she sat on the floor beside me singing, "You Are My Sunshine," until the thunder passed. Another mentioned the blue tin box on her dresser where she kept my baby teeth, each one wrapped in a twist of tissue labeled with the date it fell out. Another described the exact pattern of freckles across my left shoulder blade, the ones I inherited from my father, the ones no photograph of me as an adult has ever shown. I stopped responding, stopped reading past the first line, but the words still found their way in, slipping under the door of my attention like smoke. The photographs began arriving in late March. The first was attached to a message from yet another new account. A dimly lit image of my living room taken from the hallway, the angle low as if the photographer had been sitting on the floor. I was asleep on the couch, one arm dangling, mouth slightly open, the blue glow of the television painting my face. The timestamp in the corner read 2:14 a.m. the previous night. My front door was visible behind the couch, deadbolt firmly in place. I called the police that same hour. The detective who came the next day was calm and methodical, flipping through the folder of screenshots I had printed. She asked the usual questions: ex-girlfriends, co-workers with grudges, anyone who might have a key. And I answered no to everything. She suggested the photos could have been stitched together from older images, that skilled harassers can do terrifying things with public data and a little patience. She took the file and promised to follow up. I stayed with my sister Emily for 9 days after that. Her house is 40 minutes away, in a suburb where the streets are wide and the porch lights stay on all night. There were no messages, no notifications, no new posts. I began to believe distance was the answer. On the 10th day, I returned to my apartment to pack more clothes and found a new post waiting on the original account, the one I thought had been secured. A photograph of Emily's guest bedroom, the bed unmade, my duffel bag open on the floor, a single sock dangling over the edge. The caption was gentle, almost tender. "You can't outrun what already knows every room you've ever slept in, Tommy." I left that same afternoon and checked into a hotel under a false name, paying cash for a week. The silence lasted 11 days. On the 12th night, I woke convinced someone was sitting on the foot of the bed. The mattress had dipped, just slightly, the way it does when weight settles at the edge. The room was pitch black, curtains drawn tight, but I could feel the presence, patient, unhurried, familiar. I did not move. I barely breathed. After what felt like hours, the pressure eased, and there was the faintest rustle, like fabric sliding across carpet, retreating. In the morning, the hotel front desk called to say a package had been left for me at 3:47 a.m. No signature required, no description of the person who dropped it off. The envelope was heavy cream stock, my name written in her handwriting, the same looping cursive she used for birthday cards. Inside was the small blue tin box from her dresser, the one I had left behind when I sold the house. The lid was dented in the exact place it had always been dented, from the time I dropped it running to show her my first lost tooth. When I opened it, my baby teeth were still there, each wrapped in yellowed tissue, the dates written in her faded ink. Beneath them lay a single Polaroid I had never seen before. Me asleep in the hotel bed, taken from directly above, the duvet pulled to my chin, my face slack and unguarded. On the white border at the bottom she had written in blue ballpoint, "You still sigh twice before you let go. Some things never change." There was a note, too, folded neatly beneath the photograph. "Being real doesn't happen to toys alone, Tommy. It happens to mothers, too. When a child loves you so much that losing you would break him, you don't get to stay gone. You become something that waits, something that watches, something that comes back when it's needed most. I never left. I was only waiting for you to need me again. Close your eyes. I'm right here. I am writing this from a diner off an interstate whose name I do not know, using a borrowed laptop because I destroyed my phone days ago. The waitress keeps refilling my coffee without being asked. Outside, the sky is the color of wet ash, and every car that slows in the parking lot makes my heart stutter. I do not know how far I have to go before the distance is enough. I do not know if there is any distance large enough. Some things keep coming back no matter what, and love, real love, is the most persistent thing of all. I've always been the type of person who keeps Instagram open in the background like a low hum, a constant feed of other lives to dip into when my own feels too quiet. My account is nothing special. At alex.harrington92, a handful of hiking photos from weekends upstate, coffee shop corners with half-read books in the frame, city rooftops at twilight, the occasional story of a rainy commute or a new record I picked up. I never post my face straight on if I can help it. Just profiles, backs of heads, hands holding mugs, so it feels safe enough to keep public. 873 followers, give or take, mostly old college friends I rarely speak to, co-workers who added me after holiday parties, a few accounts I followed for the aesthetics years ago and forgot to unfollow. I like the small hits of connection, the likes from people I haven't seen since graduation, the sense that someone, somewhere, noticed the same shaft of light on a brick wall that I did. It's harmless, I told myself. Everyone leaves pieces of themselves online. What's the worst that can happen? It started on a Tuesday night in early November when I was lying on the couch, thumb scrolling through the endless list of accounts I follow, unfollowing the ones that hadn't posted in years. Abandoned travel blogs, meme pages that stopped being funny, aesthetic accounts that had gone corporate. One handle stood out because I didn't recognize it at all. At observer_447. No profile picture, just the gray default silhouette. 0 posts, 0 followers, following exactly 12 accounts. I tapped through the list out of mild curiosity. Every single one was someone connected to me. My sister Claire, my oldest friend Mike from high school, my ex Lena, who I haven't messaged in 3 years, 2 coworkers from my department, my dentist's office page for some reason, even the barista at the corner cafe who posts her latte art. All public profiles, all ones I interact with regularly. It felt deliberate, like someone had drawn a quiet circle around my life and was standing just outside it, watching. I blocked the account without much thought and went back to scrolling, assuming it was a bot or some weird spam thing that would vanish. A week later, the follow request appeared while I was on the train home. At observer_447 again, but now with a profile picture. A grainy, out-of-focus shot of the back of someone's head, dark hair, hoodie up, taken from a distance in what looked like a crowd. I rejected it immediately, reported it as spam, and forgot about it until the next morning when 3 more requests were waiting. At observer_448, 449, and 450. Same blank bios, same silhouette avatars at first, then each one updated within minutes to slightly different blurry photos. Someone standing at a crosswalk, someone sitting on a subway bench, someone looking out a window, all taken from behind or the side, never a face. Each account followed the same 12 people plus me. I blocked them all, reported them, and for a few days nothing happened. I even laughed about it to Mike over text, calling it my first taste of being internet famous in the worst way. He sent back a laughing emoji and said to turn my account private if it bothered me. I didn't. Private felt like admitting defeat to a ghost. By the end of that week, I had blocked 27 variations, the numbers climbing slowly, 1 or 2 a day. Never enough to feel urgent, but enough to notice. None of them posted anything, none messaged me, none liked or commented. They just existed, silent, watching the same small circle of accounts I orbited. Instagram's support tools were useless. The accounts would disappear after a day or 2, suspended or deleted, only for new numbers to appear in their place. I made my profile private anyway, went through years of posts and archived anything that showed too much location. The trailhead signs, the street numbers visible in reflections, the cafe awnings I used to tag for the aesthetic. The requests slowed to a trickle, then stopped entirely for almost a week. I told myself it was over, that whoever was behind it had gotten bored and moved on. I went back to posting stories, a foggy morning run, a book page with coffee stains, the view from my office window on the 14th floor. Normal things. Safe things. Then the first actual post appeared on an account I hadn't managed to block yet, at observer_462. It was a single photograph uploaded at 3:12 a.m. The corner coffee shop I walk to every weekday morning, taken from the small table by the window where I always sit. The angle was from across the room facing the door, my usual order visible on the table, a black coffee in a white ceramic mug and a plain croissant on wax paper, but the seat was empty. The light was exactly how I remembered it 2 mornings earlier, the day I'd spilled half the coffee rushing out for a 9 a.m. call. The caption was a string of coordinates: 40.7128 degrees north, 74.0060 degrees west. Broad enough to be anywhere in Manhattan, but close enough to my neighborhood to make the hair on my arms stand up. No likes, no comments, following only those original 12 accounts and now a few more, my cousin in Boston, the running group I sometimes post in. I screenshotted everything, reported it, and the account was gone by noon. I told myself it was a lucky guess, that plenty of people go to that cafe, that the photo could have been staged. But I started taking my coffee to go after that. The posts continued, always at night, always from new numbers in the 460s and climbing. They were never of me directly, at least not at first. They were places I knew intimately. The wooded trail I run on weekends up in Van Cortlandt, shot from behind a cluster of birch trees, the leaves just starting to turn. The dimly lit bar on 9th Avenue where my friends and I play trivia every other Thursday, taken from the parking lot across the street, the neon sign flickering in the window. The plain brick building on 72nd where my therapist has her office, the photo focused on the 4th floor window, curtains half drawn exactly how I remembered them from my last session. Each caption was coordinates, tighter each time, narrowing like a camera lens adjusting focus. The follower lists expanded too, still anchored by those original 12, but now including my boss's rarely used account, my old college roommate who lives in Seattle, even a professor whose poetry page I like for the quotes. I stopped going to those places entirely. I found new running paths, skipped trivia nights, started seeing a different therapist across town whose office has no windows. I varied my commute, took different trains, worked from home when I could. The posts slowed, but never quite stopped, as if the person behind them was adjusting too, waiting for me to settle into a new pattern. One night in late November, at observer_489, uploaded a photo of my bedroom window from the street below, taken at 2:14 a.m. The curtains were open because I'd forgotten to close them after watering the plants on the sill. An orchid my sister gave me last birthday, a small succulent I bought on impulse. The room was dark, but the blue glow from my laptop screen was visible through the glass, casting just enough light to show the outline of me sitting up in bed, phone in hand, scrolling. The coordinates were exact: my building, my floor, my window facing the alley. That was the first time a photo showed me, even as a silhouette. I sat very still for a long time after seeing it, staring at the screen until it went black. Then I changed every lock in the apartment, installed a cheap Wi-Fi camera in the hallway outside my door, taped cardboard over the bedroom window. Nothing ever triggered the camera, no footsteps, no shadows, no one lingering outside the peephole. The police came when I called the second time, took a longer report, asked if I had any exes who might hold a grudge, any co-workers I'd clashed with. I didn't. They said they'd submit a request to Instagram's law enforcement team, but these things take time, and without direct threats it's hard to escalate. I nodded like I understood. Days passed with no new accounts, no new posts. I started to breathe easier, started leaving the cardboard off the window during the day, started running again on weekdays when the parks were crowded. I even posted a story for the first time in weeks. Just a photo of my coffee mug on the desk at work, no location, no face. The Observer accounts stayed quiet. I told Mike about it over beers, laughed it off as the weirdest thing that had ever happened to me on the internet. He said I should delete the app entirely, start over with a new handle. I said maybe, but I didn't. Not yet. Then last week, the posts changed tone entirely. At observer_512 uploaded 3 photos in one night, all within minutes of each other. The first was my childhood home in Connecticut, the one my parents sold after Dad died 5 years ago. The blue shutters still the same, the for sale sign long gone, but the yard a little overgrown. taken from across the street at dusk. The second was the cemetery where he's buried, the headstone sharp in the foreground, the grass trimmed short, late autumn light slanting across the engraving. The third was a gravestone I didn't recognize at first, until I zoomed in on the name. Alexander James Harrington, my full name, my exact birth date etched below it, and a death date 3 days from now. The coordinates weren't for a place. They were for the exact plot next to my father's. The caption on that one was different. No numbers, just a single line. Some observations are final. There were no more posts after that. The account is still active, following 142 accounts now, all people connected to me in widening circles, high school friends I haven't seen in 15 years, distant cousins, even the account of the realtor who sold my parents' house. The profile picture changed yesterday to a photo of me walking down my street 2 days ago, head down against the wind, taken from behind at a distance that could have been anyone on the sidewalk. I keep checking the active status on stories from mutual friends, watching for unfamiliar viewers. I keep refreshing searches for new observer accounts. The numbers stopped at 512. I haven't slept more than a couple hours at a time since that last post. I keep the hallway camera recording, keep the cardboard taped over every window, keep my phone on airplane mode except when I need to check something. I've started taking the stairs instead of the elevator, varying the times I leave the building, carrying pepper spray I bought online. The police checked the cemetery. Nothing. No new stone, no record of any reservation under my name. They said it was likely a sick joke, that people do this kind of thing for reactions. I asked if they could trace the accounts. They said Instagram is slow, and the person is probably using VPNs, burner devices, things that make it nearly impossible without a major crime to justify the resources. I'm writing this from a library computer across town because I deleted the app from my phone last night. I don't know what happens when the numbers start climbing again. I don't know if they ever really stopped. I don't know why me. Why now? Why this slow, patient mapping of a life that was never that interesting to begin with? If anyone has ever made something like this stop, made the watching end without giving them whatever it is they want, please tell me how. I think the next photo will show my face. I've lived in Bend my entire life, born and raised in the same quiet neighborhood on the west side where the pines crowd close to the houses and the winters drag on with gray skies and too much time indoors. It's a town of about 100,000 now, big enough that you don't know everyone but small enough that news travels fast. Someone's kid getting a scholarship, a new brewery downtown, or, when it happens, something darker that nobody wants to talk about directly. I'm 26, single, work freelance graphic design from my little rental house near Drake Park, the kind of job that lets me set my own hours and spend too much time alone with my laptop and my cat, a gray tabby named Juniper who mostly sleeps on the keyboard when I'm trying to meet deadlines. My Instagram is low effort but consistent, at emily.r.carter, shots of morning fog over the Deschutes, trails in Shevlin Park with the aspens turning gold, close-ups of my coffee mug on the porch table, Juniper staring out the window like she owns the place. I kept it public because I liked the occasional comment from locals, great shot of Pilot Butte, or saw that same hawk yesterday. Small things that made the isolation feel less heavy. It was one of those sleepless nights in late September when I first saw the account, the kind where the wind rattles the gutters and you end up scrolling deeper than you should. The Explore page pushed it at me after I'd liked a few dark aesthetic posts, abandoned buildings, moody forests, nothing extreme. The handle was at cleansing_ritual, avatar a solid black square, bio just purity requires sacrifice. The grid was sparse but deliberate, heavily filtered photos of what looked like staged scenes, red stains seeping into cracked concrete under sodium lights, tools laid out on plastic sheeting with shadows cutting across them, blurred shapes that could be bundles or bodies if you let your mind go there. One post in particular stuck with me longer than it should have, a close-up of a gloved hand holding a thin, straight blade against a dark background, the metal catching a sliver of light, caption, "The instrument must be flawless for the work to be clean." I thought it was fake, the kind of account some film student or horror enthusiast runs for shock value, using movie blood and clever angles to build a following. The captions were short and pretentious. "The vessel yields," or "Precision restores order," and comments were turned off. I scrolled through maybe 10 posts, felt a little uneasy the way you do with anything too graphic late at night, then backed out and forgot about it. The algorithm didn't forget. Over the next week, it kept surfacing in my feed. New posts, same style. Dark outdoor shots with heavy grain, things half hidden in underbrush or behind chain link, always at night, always local looking in that vague Central Oregon way with ponderosa pines or volcanic rock in the background. One that showed up a few nights later was worse. A low-angle shot of what looked like a tarp spread on dirt, dark wet patches soaking through in irregular shapes, the edges weighted down with rocks. Caption, "Containment prevents spread." The red was too dull to be fresh, more brownish, like it had sat for a while, and the whole image had this flat, matter-of-fact quality that made my stomach turn even though I told myself it was corn syrup and food coloring under a filter. Then the text posts started, long captions on plain black images, rants typed out in white serif font about how the world is clogged with corruption, how certain people carry it like a visible stain, how removing it surgically brings clarity, how the act itself is respectful, almost reverent. It wasn't screaming madness. It was calm, detailed, talking about selection criteria, about waiting for the right moment when the subject is alone, about the quiet satisfaction of a clean process and returning what's left to the earth. Still felt like roleplay, some lonely guy in his basement typing manifestos to feel important. I reported a few of the heavier images for violence, but they stayed up. I blocked the account and moved on. The follow request showed up a couple mornings later, notification popping while I was pouring coffee and half watching the news. At Cleansing Ritual wants to follow you. I rejected it, blocked, cleared the cache like that would help. That should have been the end. But 2 days later it was back as at Cleansing Ritual 2, same black avatar, same empty bio. Rejected, blocked, reported as harassment. Then 03, 04, 05. Each one a fresh account, no posts, just the request hanging there like it was patient. By the 10th I stopped counting closely, just blocked on sight. One evening I came home from the grocery store and there were 4 new requests waiting, all created within the same hour, the numbers jumping from 12 to 16. I sat at the kitchen table rejecting and blocking one after another, heart beating a little faster each time the notification sound chimed. Instagram's system sent the usual, "We're reviewing" emails, but nothing changed fast enough to matter. I switched my profile to private, went back through years of posts and archived anything that pinned me down too clearly. The exact bend in the river where I like to read, the coffee shop window that showed the street sign behind me, the park bench with the view of my house in the distance. The requests kept coming anyway, slower now, one every few days, the numbers ticking up like a counter. Around then, the missing persons report started making local news. First one in late September, a guy in his 40s who hadn't shown up for work, last seen leaving a bar downtown. Then another a couple weeks later, a woman from the east side, car found abandoned near the fairgrounds. Bend doesn't get a lot of that. People go missing in the wilderness sometimes, hiking accidents or whatever. But these felt different. The police said they were looking into connections, asked for tips. Then the first body turned up in early October, discovered by dirt bikers on a Forest Service road out past Tamalo. Male, mid-30s, cause of death not released but ruled homicide. That night, one of the Ritual accounts, number 17 or something, posted a dark, blurred shot of pine needles and dirt, something indistinct in the foreground, caption, "First cleansing complete, roots purified." When I reverse searched the image later, the metadata had coordinates that lined up roughly with the discovery site. Another post from the same account a day later was a close-up of what looked like a shallow depression in the soil, leaves scattered over it like it had been disturbed and then smoothed. Caption, "Return to the cycle." I reported it with a screenshot and a note about the timing, but the post was still there the next day. The text posts got more frequent after that. Long threads about the necessity of removal, how the cleansed are chosen for their accumulated decay, how the process is careful and leaves no waste, how nature reclaims what's returned to it. They mentioned specifics that hit close, the bite of cold air off the river at night, the particular silence in empty lots behind the big box stores on the highway, the smell of wet sagebrush after rain. It wasn't vague anymore. One post that stayed with me was a photo of a plastic bucket half filled with dark liquid, a gloved hand swirling something pale in it. Caption, "Thorough cleaning ensures no trace remains." The image was clinical, almost like a tutorial, and the liquid looked thick, real enough that I had to close the app and walk around the house for a minute. Another body in late October, this one in a drainage ditch near the edge of town, and the account posted within hours. Grainy photo of rusted culvert and weeds. Caption, "Second vessel emptied, flow restored." Coordinates again, closer this time. I started keeping a folder on my desktop, screenshots organized by date, notes on what matched the news. The police released almost nothing, just that they were investigating homicides, asking for information, but the pattern was clear if you were paying attention. The follow requests became more aggressive in November. One morning, I woke up to 9 new ones, numbers 28 through 36, all created overnight. I spent 20 minutes blocking them while Juniper watched from the bed, tail flicking like she could sense I was upset. One of the accounts had posted its first image before I blocked it, a shot of a residential street at night, porch lights glowing, a single car in a driveway that could have been any in Bend but felt too familiar. The angle of the pines, the way the street curved. Caption, "Proximity clarifies the need." I screenshotted it, added it to the folder, hands shaking enough that I had to restart the print job twice. I took the folder to the Bend Police Department in person one afternoon, printed everything out, explained how I'd found the account by accident, and how the posts seemed to announce the discoveries. The officer at the desk was polite, took it to a detective named Hargrove who came out and talked to me for 20 minutes. Asked if I'd had any direct contact, any threats, if I recognized the style from anywhere local. I hadn't. She said they'd look into it, that social media tips come in all the time and most are nothing, but they'd pass it up the chain. The follow requests kept arriving, into the 30s now, sometimes 2 in a day. One updated its bio to, "Observation is the first step," which felt like a nod to people like me who wouldn't let it go. November brought 3 more deaths, all ruled the same way: sharp force trauma, bodies left in remote spots but not hidden, almost placed. One post that came after the 3rd discovery was particularly bad. A series of 3 images in a carousel. First, a tarp folded neatly on dry grass. Second, the same tarp unfolded with dark wet patches concentrated in the center. Third, the tarp folded again and weighted with rocks. Caption, "Containment, release, return. The cycle is complete." The stains looked layered, like something had pooled and soaked through over time. The media started calling it the cleaner case because of how little evidence was left, how methodical it seemed. The account posted after each one always obscured photos of the general area, manifestos expanding on the philosophy, how the work needs witnesses to be complete, how sharing the process honors the cleansing. Clues got bolder, references to specific trailheads, intersections, the sound of the river under certain bridges. I went back to Hargrove twice more with updates, sat in the lobby waiting while she reviewed the new prints. She started asking more questions. Did I live alone? Had I noticed cars lingering outside? Anyone new at the grocery store or on my runs? I hadn't, but I stopped running the river path anyway, started driving to the gym instead, kept Juniper inside even though she hated it. By early December, the requests were in the 50s, Instagram suspending batches after my reports but never fast enough. One night I came home late from a rare dinner with friends and found 12 new requests waiting, numbers jumping from 48 to 60 in one go. I blocked them all sitting in my car in the driveway, engine still running, checking the rearview mirror more than usual. One account posted a photo that made me go cold. My street at twilight, pines lining the sidewalk, porch lights just coming on, my car a dark shape in the driveway though blurred enough someone could claim coincidence. Caption, "Some impurities linger closer than others." I called Hargrove from the kitchen floor, voice shaking so bad I could barely get the words out. She came to the house that evening, took my phone, scrolled slow through the history. She said they'd finally gotten cooperation from Instagram after linking it to the investigation, that they were working subpoenas for data involving state police and the FBI's behavioral unit because of the pattern. It dragged another 10 days, another body in a ravine out near Tumalo with a post that went up hours earlier. Photo of rocky creek bed, caption about final release. Then the arrest. Daniel Keene, 38, lived in a small house on the southeast side, did handyman work around town, no one who really knew him. They found everything: tools cleaned spotless, plastic sheeting, notebooks with the manifestos handwritten first, hard drives full of the photos before filters. He'd been sloppy a few times posting from home internet when the VPN dropped. The requests to me started after I posted in a couple local Facebook groups asking if anyone else had seen the account, connecting it to the news. I was the first to make noise publicly, the first to push reports hard enough to flag patterns. He wanted to see who was watching back. Hargrove called me herself after the raid, said they had him cold, that my documentation helped tie it together faster than it might have otherwise. The news was careful, no victim names yet, focus on the arrest, the community relief. Town feels heavier now, people looking over shoulders at the grocery store, locking doors they used to leave open. I deleted the app completely, got an alarm system, adopted a second cat for Juniper so the house doesn't feel so empty at night. I still catch myself checking the door 3 times before bed, still flinch at notifications on my phone, even though it's just work emails now. I don't know what made him start, what he got from posting it all. The notebooks talked about needing the work seen, about witnesses completing the ritual. I was one, whether I wanted to be or not. If you see something online that lines up too close with what's happening around you, document it. Report it. Push. Don't assume it's fake just because it's on a screen. Some people want to be found. My girlfriend Sarah and I have been together for 4 years now, building a quiet life in a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a suburban neighborhood just outside Denver, the kind of area where the streets are lined with young trees planted by the city and families wave at each other while walking dogs in the evening, where the biggest concerns are usually things like noisy leaf blowers on weekends or the occasional power outage during snowstorms. I'm 30 years old, working a steady IT support job that lets me log in from home most days, troubleshooting software issues for a mid-sized company downtown, spending hours on video calls with frustrated employees who can't get their printers to connect or their email to sync properly. And Sarah is 28, a registered nurse on the pediatric floor at Children's Hospital Colorado, pulling 12-hour shifts that leave her bone-tired but still lighting up when she talks about the kids she cares for, the ones who draw her pictures or fall asleep holding her hand during IV starts. We welcomed our daughter Lily last October. She turned 1 a couple months ago, and she has become the absolute center of our world, with her soft curls that smell like baby shampoo and the way she reaches out with both hands when she wants to be picked up, her little laughs when we play peekaboo, or the way she concentrates so seriously on stacking her blocks. We were cautious about sharing her online, but we did post a few photos on our joint Instagram account at SarahAndMike_life. Her first steps in the living room captured on video, a family picture at the pumpkin patch where she's bundled in a little knit hat and coat, her birthday cake smashed with frosting all over her cheeks and hands in a colorful onesie, always fully clothed, always innocent moments we thought were safe to share with friends and family scattered across the state. The account was public because Sarah enjoyed connecting with other new parents, swapping stories about sleep regression or milestone worries, getting advice on teething remedies or the best baby carriers, and it felt like a harmless way to stay linked to people we didn't see often, a small community in the chaos of new parenthood. Everything changed one Friday night in early November when Sarah and I were winding down on the couch after putting Lily to bed, her monitor glowing softly on the coffee table with the steady rise and fall of her breathing, the apartment quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional car passing outside. Sarah's phone buzzed with a message from Jenna, a co-worker she'd grown friendly with over late-night shifts in the PEDS ward. A woman in her mid-40s who always showed up with Tupperware full of homemade brownies and talked warmly about her own grown kids and grandbabies. Someone Sarah had confided in about the stresses of breastfeeding or Lily's first cold. Jenna had sent a link to a private Instagram group chat called Parenting Wins and Fails, describing it as a small, relaxed space for hospital staff and a few friends to trade funny kid memes, vent about rough days with toddlers, and share little victories like finally getting a baby to sleep through the night or surviving a diaper blowout in public. Sarah read it aloud and asked if I minded her joining. We both figured it could be nice for her to have more people to talk to who understood the exhaustion and joy of raising a 1-year-old, especially on nights when I was buried in work calls and she felt isolated in the apartment with only Lily for company. She tapped accept, and the chat loaded with about 20 members, avatars mostly smiling family photos or cartoon characters, recent messages scrolling with light complaints about teething or daycare germs, someone sharing a video of their kid attempting to blow out birthday candles and missing entirely, another posting a photo of a toddler asleep in a high chair with spaghetti in their hair. For the first hour, it seemed exactly as advertised. Sarah showed me a few posts while we finished our tea. A meme about how coffee is the real MVP of parenting, a photo of a toddler covered in spaghetti sauce with the caption, "Dinner was a success," another nurse venting about a patient's parent who wouldn't stop hovering during rounds. Sarah even replied to one with a laughing emoji and typed, "Lily does the exact same thing with yogurt, ends up wearing more than she eats." We put our phones down, watched half an episode of something mindless on TV, and went to check on Lily before heading to bed ourselves, peeking in to see her sleeping peacefully on her back with her little arms thrown up above her head. Later that night, though, Sarah couldn't sleep. She picked up her phone to scroll a little more while I dozed beside her, and the chat had shifted while we weren't looking. A user named @FamilyFun303 posted a photo that wasn't a meme at all. A dimly lit image of a young child in underwear, posed in a way that made Sarah's breath catch sharply enough to wake me. The caption read, "Sweet dreams material tonight." Two other members replied almost immediately with heart eye emojis and a DM sent. Sarah woke me up quietly, showed me the screen, and we started scrolling back together, the room feeling colder with every message we uncovered, the blue light from the phone casting harsh shadows on our faces. The further we went, the worse it got. There were links to private Google Drives labeled casually like Summer Batch or New Favorites, direct shares of images that were unmistakably explicit, children in compromising positions, some clearly distressed, traded back and forth with comments about quality or rarity, members discussing preferences in plain terms, asking for specific ages or types, thanking each other for uploads like they were swapping recipes or vacation photos. We recognized several handles from the member list, people Jenna had vouched for as good parents from work. And when we checked their individual profiles, the public facades were normal. Vacation photos with smiling families at the beach, kids at soccer games blowing out candles, Bible verses or inspirational quotes in bios. But their comment histories on open posts were disturbing, lingering under public photos of children at dance recitals or birthday parties or even charity events at the hospital, leaving remarks like, "Such a little beauty growing up so fast," or "Those eyes could melt anyone, precious," repeated dozens of times on accounts belonging to strangers who probably thought they were just getting harmless compliments. One man, @DadLife802, had liked hundreds of swimsuit photos of young girls posted by proud parents at public pools or lakes. Jenna herself had been active, replying to shares with "Perfect edition, thanks," and posting her own links weeks earlier, including one titled "Hospital Friends Only." That first night after discovering it all, we didn't sleep at all. We took turns holding Lily while she dozed in our arms, her little body warm and trusting against our chests, whispering back and forth in the dark living room about what we'd seen, debating whether to pack a bag right then and drive to Sarah's parents' house an hour away just to feel safer. I kept getting up to check the front door lock, the windows, the sliding glass to the balcony, testing them over and over while Sarah sat on the couch with Lily, staring at the phone as we continued scrolling through more member profiles, finding even deeper comment histories, some going back years, patterns of fixation on certain types of photos, accounts following hundreds of family bloggers or daycare pages. We blurred every screenshot we took to protect ourselves, organized them into folders by member, noting timestamps and connections, the hours slipping away until the sky outside started to lighten and Lily stirred for her morning bottle. We felt this overwhelming mix of rage and helplessness, guilt for ever posting anything of her online, terror at how easily this group had hidden in plain sight among people Sarah worked with every day. We sat there until the early hours, taking screenshots of everything we could, the full chat history, every image blurred in our copies to protect ourselves, the profiles, the comment trails. Sarah left the group at around 3 a.m., blocked every visible member, and we reported the entire chat through Instagram's child sexual exploitation form, attaching as much redacted proof as the system allowed, and writing a detailed explanation of how we'd been invited. We barely slept after that. Lily woke up at 6 like always, babbling in her crib, and holding her that morning felt different, heavier, like the world had tilted and we were only just noticing, her innocent smiles making the contrast with what we'd seen even sharper. The follow requests started the next day. Sarah noticed first while feeding Lily breakfast, new accounts with no posts, handles like at Tiny Angels Only or at Precious Shares 303, avatars of generic cartoon bears or flowers. Some messaged right away, cute family account, saw Lily's birthday post, any more recent pics? Or, love the cake smash, would love to see her in the bath. Referencing the one public photo we'd posted months ago of Lily covered in frosting, fully dressed in a rainbow onesie. We blocked them immediately, but more came. 5 that first day, 10 the next. Some creating stories with cropped screenshots of Lily's photo asking followers to help find more. One account went as far as posting a public story tagging a burner profile we didn't control, saying, "Know this little cutie? DM for family album." We made our account private within hours, archived every photo of Lily, deleted stories, unfollowed anyone we didn't know in real life. The requests kept coming anyway, slipping into the hidden requests folder. New accounts every few hours, some with bios like Collector of Innocence or Private Parent Group. Sarah went to work that Monday, pale and quiet, arriving early for her shift so she could catch her charge nurse before rounds started, her stomach in knots the whole drive as she rehearsed what to say in her head, gripping the steering wheel tighter every time she thought about facing Jenna. She pulled Jenna aside in the break room during a lull, the smell of coffee and antiseptic heavy in the air, and told her straight that she'd seen the group chat, that she knew what was being shared, and that she was reporting it. Jenna's face went white at first, then red, denying everything, claiming she had no idea it had turned into that someone else must have added the bad members after she created it for harmless parenting talk. She got defensive quickly, voice rising enough that another nurse poked her head in, asking if everything was okay. Sarah stayed calm but firm, said she had screenshots and was going to HR right then. The charge nurse walked her there herself, and the meeting lasted hours. Sarah recounting every detail while trying not to cry, showing the blurred evidence on her phone, HR taking notes and calling hospital security to escort Jenna off the floor pending investigation. Sarah sat in a small office afterward, hands shaking as she texted me updates, feeling watched by every colleague who passed in the hall. A few days later, we took Lily for her routine one-year checkup at the pediatrician's office. A visit we'd been looking forward to because she was hitting all her milestones. But Sarah was on edge the whole time, scanning the waiting room for anyone lingering too long. While we waited, she idly checked the doctor's public Instagram page for fun, photos of the staff, holiday decorations in the lobby, and noticed one of the harassing accounts had liked an old group photo from a charity event that included babies in the background. It triggered something in her. She started breathing fast, hands trembling as she showed me, and ended up stepping out to the bathroom where she had a full panic attack, splashing water on her face and calling me from the stall in whispers. When we saw the doctor, Sarah told her everything, asked if the practice had ever dealt with similar issues or if they could make their page private. The doctor was concerned, noted it in Lily's chart for safety, and gave us resources for online child protection. We went to our local police station the next day, brought a USB drive with everything organized, screenshots timestamped, chat logs, the harassing messages, the cropped images of Lily. The detective who took the case specialized in internet crimes against children. He listened carefully, asked if we'd received any direct threats. We hadn't yet, just the requests and comments, and said this was clearly an organized group, that our evidence was solid enough to open an immediate investigation and forward to the Colorado Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. He advised us to stop engaging entirely, document everything new, and consider a temporary restraining order if we could identify local members. The first direct threat message came a few nights later, while I was up late working on a ticket and Sarah was asleep with Lily. An account I hadn't seen before sent a longer message, not screaming or unhinged but calculated and chilling, describing how Lily seemed to love the park with the red slide near our apartment, something we'd mentioned in an old story caption before archiving it, and saying she'd make fast friends with other families who appreciate little ones like her, that if we shared privately with their group, they could introduce her properly and everyone would benefit. It implied they could find ways to see more if we didn't cooperate, hinting at how easy it is to trace routines from cached photos or mutual connections. I woke Sarah immediately, showed her, and we sat up forwarding it to the detective, hearts pounding as we rechecked every lock again. We contacted Instagram repeatedly, daily reports, emails to their safety team, even creating a burner account to tag their official pages with redacted proof and case numbers from the police. Responses were automated. We're reviewing. Some accounts were suspended, but the group was organized. Band members just made new ones, sometimes within minutes. The detective told us Meta was cooperating under subpoena now, providing data that linked dozens of accounts to real IP addresses. We escalated to the FBI's tip line ourselves, submitted everything online, and an agent from the Denver field office called within days for a full interview over Zoom, asked detailed questions about how we were invited, what we saw, how the harassment progressed. She confirmed this was part of a larger interstate ring, that our screenshots were helping map connections. The threats escalated a week later. One account messaged a collage of cached versions of Lily's photos pulled from Google Images, with text overlaid. "Such a pretty girl. Our friends would love to meet her. Share more, or we will." Another sent a longer message describing how easy it is to find addresses from old tags or mutual followers, hinting they knew our neighborhood park because of a background tree in one archived story. A third account posted publicly on a throwaway profile, tagging nothing but writing, "Parents who tease with one pic and then hide are the worst. Lily deserves to be shared properly." We forwarded all of it to the detective, who said they were seeing similar patterns with other families who'd reported the network. Intimidation to keep people quiet. Sarah and Mike discovered a couple of the harassing accounts had liked or commented on photos of children belonging to mutual Instagram friends, other new parents they'd connected with through mom groups or hospital networks. So they spent an evening debating whether to reach out, worried about scaring people unnecessarily, but more worried about silence. They messaged two families privately, ones whose kids had been in similar birthday or park photos, warning them gently with redacted screenshots and suggesting they check their own followers and likes. The responses were emotional. Phone calls that lasted hours, mothers crying on the line, thanking them profusely but also panicking, immediately privatizing accounts and deleting photos, one family even calling their local police the same night. 2 agents from the FBI came to our apartment unannounced one afternoon for an in-person interview, knocking while Lily was napping and Sarah was folding laundry, both of us jumping at the sound. They showed badges, sat at our kitchen table with notebooks and laptops, going through our physical printouts page by page, asking to see Lily's room for context, to understand the level of personalization in the threats. They explained calmly how these networks operate, starting with seemingly normal parent groups to groom trust, sharing escalating material while vetting members, using intimidation on anyone who leaves or reports. They gave us specific advice. Change all routines, avoid predictable patterns with Lily, consider a home security audit, keep records of everything. Leaving them at the door felt surreal, like the threat had walked right into our living room. We contacted Instagram again, multiple times, through every channel, their safety center, email support, even tagging their official accounts on a burner profile with redacted proof. Some accounts got suspended, but new ones appeared faster, like they had a network ready to replace them. The police updated us weekly at first, said they'd identified a few local users from IP traces Instagram finally provided under subpoena, that it was a loose ring of people across Colorado and a couple neighboring states, sharing material sourced from darker places. They raided one guy's house in Aurora, found drives full of it. By late December, several arrests were made, people in Colorado, Utah, a couple in Wyoming, local news covering it carefully as a child exploitation network disrupted. Jenna was charged federally, along with others from the chat. The follow requests stopped abruptly 1 week in January, like a switch flipped. The agent said our early reporting and persistence helped shut down multiple distribution channels. We deleted the account completely, started fresh with nothing public. Lily's photos stay on a locked drive now, shared only in person with family. Sarah switched floors at the hospital, requested no contact with anyone from that old shift group. We installed a full security system, changed all passwords, even moved Lily's crib to the back room away from windows. Some nights we still wake up checking the baby monitor twice, still scan parking lots when we take her to appointments. The world feels less safe in ways we can't unsee. If someone invites you to a private group that feels even slightly off, leave. Screenshot. Report everywhere. Push until someone listens. One careless click can open a door you can't close. I've been single for about 3 years now, ever since the breakup with Ryan that left me feeling raw for months. The kind of split where you delete every photo together and block on everything just to stop yourself from looking back. Where you lie awake replaying conversations and wondering what you missed, what you could have done differently to make it not hurt so much. I'm 31, live alone in a one-bedroom in Portland's Southeast Division area, the apartment I moved into right after the breakup because it was cheap and close to the bus line, with creaky hardwood floors and a kitchen small enough that I can reach the fridge without taking a step. I work as a project manager for a small marketing firm that's mostly remote, so my days are a lot of Zoom calls and spreadsheets from the kitchen table, headphones on to block out the neighbor's dog barking or the traffic on Division Street, trying to stay focused while my mind wanders to what I'm making for dinner or if I should finally repaint the bathroom. My Instagram is at lauren.e.hayes, nothing too wild. Photos of coffee runs to the place on 28th where the baristas know my order. Weekend hikes in Forest Park when the weather isn't pouring and the trails are muddy but worth it for the quiet. Books I'm reading on the couch with my legs tucked under me and a mug balanced on the armrest. The occasional night out with friends at bars in Buckman where we sit in the back booth and talk too loud over cheap beers. I kept it public because I like the random likes from people I knew in college or co-workers. The small comments that make you feel less alone in a city where it's easy to go weeks without real conversation, where you can walk the same streets every day and never run into anyone you know. The first weird thing happened in early October when I was scrolling through stories before bed, the apartment quiet except for the hum of the fridge and rain tapping the window, the kind of steady Portland rain that makes everything feel closed in. An anonymous account started posting stories that looked exactly like the cafe I go to every morning before my first call. The same worn wooden counter, the same chalkboard menu with the special scrawled in colored chalk, my usual order sitting there, an oat milk latte with a little leaf pulled in the foam, the way the guy with the sleeve tattoos always does it. The photo was taken from the corner table I always grab if it's free, the one by the window with the good light. But the seat was empty, like it had been shot right before I arrived that day. The account had no posts on the grid, no bio, handle something like at dailybrew_97214, following only a handful of local places and me. I thought it was a coincidence at first, maybe a barista with a side account taking artsy shots of the shop, so I didn't block it right away, just watched a couple more stories. Another of the pastry case with the same croissants I always get. Another of the street outside at the exact time I usually leave. The next day, another story from the same account showed up while I was on a call. My car parked in its usual spot on the street outside my building, the silver Honda with the dent in the bumper from when I backed into a pole last winter, taken from across the road, time-stamped 20 minutes before I actually left for groceries that afternoon. I paused the call, muted myself, stared at the photo longer than I should have, zooming in on the license plate blurred just enough but still recognizable to me. I blocked it then, reported as spam, cleared my notifications, and tried to shrug it off as some local creep playing games, maybe someone who lived nearby and noticed my routine. But 2 days later, a new account popped up, at morningwalk_97202, posting a story of the exact trail I take in Forest Park on Saturdays, the one that starts near the Rose Garden and loops through the Douglas firs with the moss hanging low. The photo was the viewpoint I always stop at for a minute, the city hazy below through the trees, but again the bench was empty, shot maybe half an hour before I got there that morning, the light the same soft gray I remembered. The account followed the same pattern, no posts on the grid, just stories that vanished after 24 hours, always places I go regularly, always taken right before I showed up. I started varying my routine a little after that, trying different cafes, taking a different trailhead in the park, telling myself it was for variety anyway. But the accounts adjusted too. One posted the new coffee spot I tried on 39th, the one with the mismatched chairs and the good almond croissants, the pastry case from the angle I stood at while ordering, the barista's hand reaching for my cup. Another showed the alternate trail, the one off Burnside with the steeper climb, the overlook where I stopped to catch my breath. I sat in my car after seeing that one, engine running, staring at the phone until the screen went dark, wondering how many people were out there watching routines like mine, how easy it was to notice someone who went the same places at the same times. By the end of that week, I had blocked 6 or 7 of them, the handles always local-sounding zip codes or neighborhood names, avatars blank or generic stock photos of coffee cups or trees or rainy streets. None messaged me directly, none liked my posts, they just existed to post these stories. My gym parking lot at 6 a.m. when I went for the early spin class, the bookstore on Hawthorne Eyebrows on Thursdays after therapy because it's quiet and the owner never bothers you, the laundromat on 42nd I use when the machines in my building are broken and I'm too lazy to wait. Always empty, always time just ahead of me, like someone was one step in front, waiting for me to catch up. I made my account private, archived anything with clear locations, the trail signs with mileage, the cafe windows that showed street names in reflection, the park bench with the view of downtown. I stopped posting stories altogether, went weeks without sharing anything. The new accounts still requested to follow, sometimes 2 or 3 a day, and when I rejected them, they'd post the stories anyway, visible to their own small follower lists that seemed to overlap with local accounts I recognized from likes or comments on my old posts. I told my friend Mara about it over drinks one night at the bar on Belmont, the one with the red booths and the good happy hour nachos, showed her the screenshots I'd started saving obsessively on my phone, organized in a folder labeled Weird Accounts. She leaned in close to look, her face getting serious as she scrolled, saying it sounded like someone who knew my habits inside out. Maybe an ex or a coworker with too much time on their hands. Ryan was the only ex who'd ever been controlling, the one who used to check my location when we were together, who got mad if I didn't text back fast enough. But he'd moved to Seattle 2 years ago, and we hadn't spoken since the breakup. Not even a like on an old post. I checked his profile anyway that night when I got home, still posting gym selfies and craft beer check-ins at breweries up there. Nothing suspicious, no overlap with the weird accounts. At work, I kept an eye on the guys in my department during our weekly Zoom stand-ups, looking for anything off in their backgrounds or the way they talked, but no one stood out, just the usual remote small talk in Slack about weekend plans or bad traffic. One Thursday after therapy, I stopped at the grocery store on the way home, the small one on Chavez with the good produce section. And when I got back to the apartment and checked my phone, a new account had posted a story of the parking lot there. My car in the spot I just left, taken from the entrance like someone had been waiting. I sat in the driver's seat for a long time after seeing it, groceries melting in the trunk, calling Mara again and talking in circles about what to do, whether to go to the police yet, or if it would just make me sound paranoid. She said to document everything, save it all, change my patterns more. I did. Started shopping at a different store across town, took Ubers instead of driving sometimes, avoided the usual spots entirely for a while. The stories kept coming though, even after I went private. The accounts would post public grids now instead of stories, photos of my apartment building from the street at different times of day, the mailbox with my last name visible but blurred just enough to claim it was coincidence, the window on the 3rd floor that's mine with the string lights I leave on at night because the overhead bulb is too harsh. One grid was 9 photos of the building entrance over a week, different weather, different lighting, like a time lapse of comings and goings, my silhouette visible once or twice leaving or coming back. One Monday in November, I woke up to a new account at eveninglight_97214 that had posted a grid of 9 photos, all interior shots that looked exactly like my living room from different angles. The couch with the gray throw blanket I always leave rumpled because I hate folding it. The kitchen counter with my coffee maker and the stack of mail I hadn't opened yet from the weekend. The bedroom door cracked open with my unmade bed visible and the laundry basket overflowing. The lighting was dim. Evening. The string lights glowing soft yellow, taken from inside because there was no reflection in the windows, no sign of a camera flash or phone screen. The captions were simple. Times of day, like 6:47 p.m. or 8:12 p.m. or 10:03 p.m. I stared at them until my hands shook so bad I dropped the phone on the carpet, picked it up again and zoomed in on details. The scratch on the coffee table from when I moved in, the half-dead pothos plant on the shelf I keep meaning to water. I called out sick from work, emailed my boss some excuse about a migraine, sat on the floor with my back against the door, checking every window lock, every closet, under the bed like I was 12 again, afraid of monsters, calling Mara crying and asking if I could come stay with her. I changed the locks that day, found a locksmith online who could come same day and paid him triple to bump me to the front. Watched him drill and replace everything while I paced the hallway, asking if he noticed anything weird, like tampered locks or hidden cameras. He said no, just normal wear. I installed a Ring camera in the hallway outside my door, pointed at the entrance, and one inside facing the living room, set up motion alerts on my phone that went off every time a neighbor walked by. Nothing triggered them in a way that mattered. No motion inside when I was out, no visitors I didn't know. The police came when I called the non-emergency line. 2 officers in the apartment taking notes while I showed them the screenshots on my laptop, explaining the pattern, the escalation to inside photos. They looked serious, asked if I had any exes who might do this, if I'd noticed anyone following me in person. I told them about Ryan, gave them his name and old number, said I hadn't seen him in years. They suggested staying somewhere else for a few days, said they'd drive by the building more often, file it as harassment. I crashed at Mara's that night, left the cameras recording, checked the feeds every hour from her couch. When I looked the next morning, nothing showed on the recordings, but a new account posted anyway. Photos from my apartment again, same angles as before, but now with the new deadbolt visible in the door close-ups, the Ring camera box on the counter where I'd left it after installing, time-stamped while I was gone. I stayed at Mara's a full week, sleeping on her pull-out couch with her cat curled at my feet, varying every routine I could think of, taking different buses to new coffee places, walking new neighborhoods, avoiding anything familiar. Mara went with me to a different grocery store, helped me buy new curtains that were thicker, blackout ones. The account slowed, posted less often, older photos maybe, or generic Portland shots of rain and bridges that could be anywhere. I started to think whoever it was had lost interest when I disappeared, when the routine broke. I went back to my apartment one afternoon to grab more clothes, tested the cameras, sat on the couch for an hour watching the feeds live, nothing moving. I started breathing easier, told Mara I thought it might be over. Then one night back in my apartment, testing if it was safe to stay, running the shower to relax after a long day of pretending everything was normal, a new account at home again _97214 posted a single story. My living room from the couch angle, the gray throw blanket smoothed out flat like someone had sat there and fixed it. My phone charger coiled neatly on the side table the way I never leave it because I'm always yanking it out in a rush. The timestamp was 20 minutes earlier while the water was running and the bathroom door was closed. I moved out the next week, gave notice on the lease even though it cost me the deposit, sublet the place furnished to someone I found on Craigslist who didn't ask questions, crashed with different friends rotating every few nights so there was no pattern. I changed jobs to fully remote for a new company that didn't care where I lived as long as the work got done, packed my stuff into storage. I deleted the old account, started a new private one with no photos, no location hints, no stories, added only people I'd met in person recently. Months passed with nothing, no requests, no weird posts I could find searching old handles. I started to settle into the new room I'm renting in a shared house on the east side, new neighborhood, new routines, new everything. Then last week a follow request from at new place _97215, avatar a photo of my current street, taken from the sidewalk outside the house I'm renting a room in now, the porch light on, my bike locked to the railing where I leave it. I haven't accepted it. I haven't rejected it yet either. I don't know what happens if I do. I'm writing this from a cafe I've never been to before, somewhere in Northeast I found on a map, using their Wi-Fi phone on airplane mode except for this tab. If anyone has ever gotten one of these accounts to stop, to really go away for good, please tell me how. Because they always find the new routine eventually, the new place, the new quiet. My brother Ethan died 2 years ago, just after his 23rd birthday, in a climbing accident up in the Cascades outside Leavenworth. The kind of route he'd done a dozen times before, but this time the weather turned faster than anyone expected, and a hold gave way. He was always the one pushing farther up the rock face, the one who texted me photos from halfway up with captions like, "Views better up here," even when the clouds were rolling in low, the one who made everything feel like an adventure even when I was content staying on the ground. They found his phone shattered at the base along with the rest of him, but the last thing he'd posted on Instagram was a story from the trailhead that morning, him grinning in his red beanie that Mom knit him the Christmas before, harness on, chalk bag clipped to his waist, caption, "Going high today, catch the sunset if the clouds hold off." The account stayed up because none of us could bring ourselves to memorialize it or delete it, like touching it would make the loss more permanent somehow. Ethan Climbs had about 800 followers back then, mostly other climbers from the local gym or routes around Teton and Vantage, old high school friends who'd gone with him on trips, me and our parents and a few cousins. We left it frozen. Last post that story from the trailhead. Last grid photo him at the crag a week earlier topping out on some 511 with that tired, satisfied smile he always had after a good send. I unfollowed a few months after the funeral because seeing his name pop up in my feed every time someone liked an old photo hurt too much. Like a reminder that he wasn't adding new ones anymore, but I never blocked it. Sometimes late at night when I couldn't sleep, I'd search the handle just to look at the photos again, zoom in on his face in the ones where he's belaying or cooking terrible camp food, or asleep in the back of his Subaru with his dog curled on his chest. I still live in the same town we grew up in, Tacoma, in the little house on North 34th that our parents signed over to me when they moved down to Arizona to be closer to warmer weather and farther from memories they couldn't stand anymore. The kind of split level with the creaky stairs and the backyard that slopes down to a ravine where we used to build forts as kids. I'm 28 now. Work remote doing data entry for an insurance company out of Seattle, the kind of job where you can wear the same sweatpants 3 days in a row, and nobody cares as long as the claims get processed and the spreadsheets balance by end of day. Instagram is my main way to keep up with the few friends I have left, mostly people from Ethan's climbing circle who stuck around after the accident, posting about new routes they sent or gear reviews or just coffee on rainy mornings at that place on 6th Avenue with the good pour-overs. I don't post much myself anymore. Maybe a photo of Puget Sound when the light's flat and gray in a way that feels honest, or my dog on the porch watching squirrels. Nothing regular, nothing that gives away too much of the day-to-day. It started 3 weeks ago on a Thursday night when I was sprawled on the couch, scrolling mindlessly, half watching some documentary about shipwrecks I didn't really care about. The house quiet except for the hum of the fridge and the occasional car passing on the street outside. A notification popped up at exactly 9:17 p.m., the time Ethan used to text me when he got home from a late climb to say he was safe and ask if I wanted to grab breakfast the next day. The preview said, "Adathan Climbs sent you a message." I thought it was one of those weird Instagram glitches at first, the kind where old queued DMs from years ago surface out of nowhere, so I opened it without thinking too hard. The message was simple. Still here. Nothing else. No photo attached. No voice note. Just those 2 words. I stared at it for a long time, thumb hovering over the keyboard, heart doing that thing where it speeds up, but you don't want to admit you're scared. I typed back, "Who is this?" because the only explanation that made sense was someone had gotten into the account, maybe a hacker or one of those weird memorial trolls who take over dead people's profiles. The typing dots appeared almost right away, like whoever it was had been waiting. Me. E. I felt my stomach drop hard. Ethan always signed his texts E when he was tired or in a hurry, a habit from when we were teenagers, and he thought full names were too formal between brothers. I asked, "How are you messaging me?" And the reply came fast, no delay at all. "Same way always. Phone's fine. Dropped but still works." I told myself it was someone who knew him well enough to fake it, maybe a friend messing around in the worst taste possible. So I asked for proof. Something only he'd know that wasn't public. The next message was a photo. Me and him on the couch in this exact living room, taken from the hallway angle. Him holding the remote pointed at the TV, me laughing at something off camera with my feet up on the coffee table. It was from 2 nights before the accident, a selfie he'd sent me when I was stuck late at work saying, "Saving your spot. Bring pizza when you get home." Nobody else had that photo. It wasn't posted anywhere, not on his story, not on mine, just a private text between us. I zoomed in on it, hands shaking a little, looking for edits or filters, but it was the original same grain from his old iPhone camera, same timestamp in the metadata. I didn't sleep that night at all. I went through the account on my laptop, still frozen to anyone looking casually. Same last post from the trailhead 2 years ago. No new activity on the grid, no stories visible. Follower count unchanged. But the DM thread with me was active, the messages sitting there like they belonged, the little scene check mark under each one. I texted our mom in Arizona, asked if she'd touched the account or given the password to anyone. She called me right away, voice thick like she'd been crying again, said no, hadn't logged in since the memorial service when we downloaded all the photos together. I messaged his old climbing partners I still talk to sometimes, the ones who helped carry the casket. Same answer, nobody had access, nobody would do something like this. I reported the messages to Instagram as harassment from an impersonator, blocked the account, even changed my own password and enabled two-factor just in case. The thread disappeared from my side like it was supposed to, but I kept screenshots of everything, saved them to a folder on my desktop labeled Ethan stuff that I hadn't opened in months. It stayed quiet for 5 whole days. I started breathing easier, checking the account less obsessively, telling myself it was over, some sick prank that ran out of steam when I didn't engage more. I even went climbing for the first time in a year, just top roping at the indoor gym on Ruston Way, feeling guilty the whole time like I was borrowing something that wasn't mine anymore. Then last Friday at 9:17 p.m., exactly another notification slid down. @Ethan Climbs posted a story. I'd blocked the account, but Instagram still pushes stories from blocked profiles sometimes if they tag you, or the algorithm thinks you might want to see it anyway. I opened it without thinking, like muscle memory. The story was a photo of the view from the crag where he fell, taken from high up on the route, the same angle as his last posted story 2 years ago, the valley dropping away sharp below. But the light was current, late afternoon sun slanting different through newer growth on the trees, a season that didn't match the day he died. Caption: Views still better up here. Clouds held off this time. I swiped to the next slide before I could stop myself. A photo of my front porch from the street, taken that same day while I was at work, my dog asleep on the mat in the exact spot he always curls up, my car in the driveway with the new dent from when I backed into a curb last month. Caption: Waiting for you to climb with me again. Bring the red rope. I blocked again immediately, reported the story for impersonation, took more screenshots before it vanished. The account posted nothing on the grid, no new followers gained, no likes on old photos. Just those stories visible to whoever hadn't blocked yet or people who searched the handle. I called the non-emergency police line that night, explained the harassment from my dead brother's account, showed the officer who came by the house all the screenshots printed out and organized in a folder. He was sympathetic in that tired way cops get with weird internet stuff, said without direct threats it's hard to do much. Old accounts get compromised all the time, people do cruel things for attention or grief processing gone wrong. They'd file it anyway, maybe reach out to Meta through official channels. I stayed at my friend Cal's that weekend, one of Ethan's old partners who still climbs, left my phone off mostly and drank too much beer talking about old trips until we both passed out on his couch. The messages started again the following Monday, this time at 9:17 every single night without fail, like clockwork. Short ones at first. Miss our talks after sends. Remember the route at Vantage where you bailed and I laughed for an hour? You should come up soon, weather's perfect. Then photos started coming with them. Old ones of us together mixed with new ones of places he used to climb, taken recently, weather matching the current week. The same trails but with different seasonal growth or fresh chalk marks on holds. One was the inside of my house, the kitchen from the hallway, my coffee mug on the counter where I'd left it that morning with the ring stain I hadn't wiped yet, the dog's bowl refilled. Caption: Home feels empty without you stopping by. Another was the view from my bedroom window at night, the streetlight glowing on the wet pavement after rain, my curtains half open the way I leave them when I forget. I stopped opening them after that, just let the notifications stack, but I could see the previews, still waiting, or bring the red beanie. I reached out to his old girlfriend Riley, the one who was with him the day before the accident planning a trip they never took. She messaged back fast, said she hadn't touched the account, hadn't even looked at it in over a year, was freaked out too and blocked it again. Our parents flew up from Arizona for a few days when I told them, stayed with me in the house going through everything together, Mom crying quietly looking at the messages, while Dad sat silent staring at the screenshots. We all reported from our accounts, all blocked again. Instagram suspended the account for 24 hours once, sent the standard email about violating community guidelines, then it came back like nothing happened. The stories kept coming at 9:17, visible even when blocked if I searched the handle from a browser tab, photos of the crag in different light, the trailhead parking lot empty at dusk, my porch again with fresh details like the package I'd had delivered that day sitting unopened. Last night the message was different, longer. A photo of the crag at dusk, the exact spot he fell from, taken from the top looking down the face into the trees below, the angle only someone anchored there could get. Caption: I'm still here, didn't finish the route, come see for yourself, I'll wait at the anchors. I'm writing this from a motel off I-5 an hour south because I couldn't stay in the house another night waiting for 9:17 to roll around again. The phone's on airplane mode, except for this browser tab on a borrowed laptop from the front desk. I don't know if it's someone who knew him playing the longest, cruelest joke imaginable, or something I can't explain with any logic left in me. If anyone's dealt with an old account coming back like this, posting new things that line up too perfect, please tell me what you did to make it stop. Because 9:17 is coming again soon no matter where I am, and I don't know if I can keep pretending I don't see it. I've been at this community college for 2 semesters now taking night classes in graphic design because the day jobs I can get with my associate's degree pay crap and I'm trying to move up without drowning in more debt. The kind of slow grind where you tell yourself it'll be worth it someday, but most nights you're just tired and wondering if you're too old to start over at 27. The campus is in this old business park outside Columbus, Ohio. Converted office buildings with flickering fluorescent lights that buzz like insects and classrooms that always smell like dry erase markers and burnt coffee from the vending machine down the hall that nobody ever cleans. My Tuesday-Thursday class is digital layout at 6:30 p.m. Same room every week, second floor of Building C, windows looking out over the parking lot where the sodium lights make everything look orange and tired, and the cars sit in rows like they're waiting for something that never comes. There's about 15 of us in there, mostly people in their 20s and 30s trying to change careers or finish what they started 10 years ago, a mix of quiet types who keep to themselves and a few who talk too much to fill the silence. We all know each other a little. Small talk about weekend plans or complaining about the parking or how the professor drones on about grid systems like it's the most important thing in the world. Nothing deep, just enough to make the 3 hours bearable. One guy I sit next to most nights is Caleb. He's 29, works days at a warehouse out by the airport unloading trucks, always shows up in the same gray hoodie and black beanie even when it's warm inside because he says he's always cold from the early shifts. We've talked enough over the semester that I know he lives with his girlfriend in German Village in one of those old brick duplexes, that he's into craft beer and plays pickup soccer on Sundays with guys from work, that he hates the professor's obsession with kerning and thinks half the assignments are busy work. He's easy to talk to in that low-key way, shows me dumb memes on his phone between slides when the lecture gets slow, asks how my weekend went or if I caught the game, normal classmate stuff that makes the class feel less like a chore. It was a Tuesday in early November, cold enough that the windows fogged a little when we all filed in, and the heat kicked on with that rattling sound from the vents. I got there first like usual, set up my laptop in our usual row near the back where the outlets are reliable, saved the seat next to me out of habit because Caleb always sits there and it's easier than making small talk with someone new. Class hadn't started yet, maybe 10 people in the room scattered around, when I heard the chair scrape to my left. Caleb dropped his bag on the floor with that familiar thump, sat down heavy like always, gave me the usual nod and, "Hey man, how's it going?" We talked for a minute about the assignment due next week, the one on responsive grids that neither of us had started. He pulled out his phone to check something quick, then opened his MacBook and got logged in, fingers tapping the trackpad the same way he always does. Everything normal. Professor started the lecture on time for once. We both took notes. I didn't think anything of it. Just another night trying to stay awake through talk about alignment and white space. About 20 minutes in my phone buzzed in my pocket. Vibration only because we're not supposed to have them out, and the professor is strict about confiscating if he sees one. I ignore it at first, figure it's my girlfriend texting about dinner plans or reminding me to pick up milk, but it buzzes again, then a third time in a row. I slide it out just enough to glance at the lock screen under the desk while pretending to type notes. Instagram notifications. 3 new stories from @caleb.davis92. I open the app quick, thumb swiping up on his story before the professor turns around from the whiteboard. First slide. Caleb on his couch at home, feet up on the coffee table I've seen in his photos before with the little chip in the corner from when his dog jumped on it, holding a beer. TV in the background paused on a soccer match. Columbus Crew versus someone, score visible in the corner. Second slide. Close-up of the beer label, some local IPA from Land Grant he's mentioned liking. Third, him grinning at the camera with that tired but content look he gets after a day off. Caption, sick day well spent. Finally beating this cold. I looked to my left, slow, like I was just stretching my neck. Caleb was still there, hoodie sleeves pushed up, typing notes with one finger while he scrolled the slides with the other. Eyes on the screen. Same face, same beanie pulled low, same everything. I felt this cold drip down my back, like someone poured ice water inside my shirt, and it was spreading slow. I checked the live score on my phone quick under the desk. Same game, same minute, crew up 1-0, just like in the story. The story was posted 8 minutes ago. I stared at the guy next to me again, trying not to make it obvious. He glanced over, gave me a small smile like, "What's up?" Then turned back to the lecture, highlighting something in yellow on his screen. I didn't say anything in class. Couldn't. My mind was racing the whole time. Deep fake maybe, or someone with access to his phone posting in real time, or a really good lookalike pulling the longest prank in history. But the details were too perfect. The scar on his left knuckle I'd noticed weeks ago when he passed me a pen during a group critique. The way he sits kind of slouched to the right with his elbow on the armrest. Even the cracked corner on his laptop lid from when he told me he dropped it rushing to class last month. I kept my head down the rest of the night, barely heard the lecture about bleed and trim, packed up fast when it ended and got out of there without talking to him, mumbling something about traffic when he asked if I wanted to grab food with a couple others after. I texted the real Caleb, the one whose number I had from a group project earlier in the semester where we paired up for a brochure layout. As soon as I got to my car in the lot, hands shaking a little on the wheel. "Hey man, you homesick tonight?" He replied almost right away. "Yeah, dude, flu or something, been on the couch all day dying. Why, what's up?" I told him someone who looked exactly like him was in class sitting next to me the whole time. He thought I was messing with him at first, sent laughing emojis and bullshit, said, "Send a pic, then prove it." I didn't have one. Too freaked out to take it in the moment, worried the thing would notice. So I just said I'd explain later, that it wasn't a joke. The next class was Thursday. I got there early on purpose, sat in the same spot, watched the door like I was waiting for someone important. People filed in slow, the usual faces, small talk about the cold snap. Caleb, the one I thought was Caleb, walked in at the usual time, same gray hoodie zipped up, same nod when he saw me, sat down next to me like nothing happened, dropped his bag and said, "Hey man, you finished that grid exercise yet?" We talked about the assignment for a minute. He complained about the reading being too long, pulled out a bag of trail mix from his pocket and offered me some, like he does sometimes. Everything normal. Halfway through the lecture, my phone buzzed again under the desk. Story from @caleb.davis92. Him at home in bed, thermometer in mouth, tissues on the nightstand, caption still down bad, "This thing's kicking my ass." Posted 3 minutes ago. I looked at the guy next to me slow. He was highlighting something in the slides, totally focused, chewing on a piece of trail mix. I excused myself to the bathroom 10 minutes later, heart hammering the whole walk down the empty hallway with the flickering light at the end, locked myself in a stall and messaged the real Caleb again. "Dude, it's in class right now. Same seat as always. Just posted a story from home sick." He called me this time, voice shaky on the other end, whispering like he didn't want his girlfriend to hear. "What the fuck, man? Take a picture, prove it. I'm freaking out." I went back in, sat down quiet, waited for the professor to turn to the board explaining bleed settings, snapped a quick one from the side, blurry but clear enough. His profile, hoodie, beanie, laptop screen with the same slide. Sent it. Caleb texted back immediately. That's not me. I'm looking at myself in the mirror right now and I'm home in bed. Then a voice note, his voice low and scared. Come here after class, please. I don't want to be alone. I stuck it out until the end, every minute feeling longer than the last. The thing next to me acting completely normal, asking if I got the last slide about safe zones, packing up slow like always, even saying, "See you Tuesday, man," when the bell rang or whatever the end of class chime is. I left fast, didn't look back, didn't answer when someone else asked if I was coming for drinks, drove straight to Caleb's apartment in German Village, the little brick duplex with the porch light always on and the steps that creak. He was waiting at the door in sweats, pale, eyes wide like he hadn't slept. Let me in without saying much, led me to the living room where his laptop was open to his own Instagram. Stories still up from earlier, the sick day ones with the thermometer and tissues. We sat there on the couch staring at each other, trying to make sense of it, going over every possibility, hacked account posting in real time, deepfake video somehow, twin he didn't know about. Nothing fit. His girlfriend was at work late, no one else had access to his phone or passwords. We checked the story views together, a handful of mutuals from class, his girlfriend, nothing weird standing out. The thing hadn't posted anything new since class ended. Caleb kept looking at the photo I'd sent him over and over, zooming in on details, whispering, "That's my hoodie, that's the scar on my hand from the warehouse last year. How is this possible?" I stayed until late. We drank too much coffee from his Keurig, talked in circles about what to do. Tell the professor, go to campus security, call the police. He didn't want to be alone. Kept checking the windows like he expected it to show up here wearing his face. Kept asking if I thought it knew we knew. I drove home around 1 a.m., checked my locks 3 times, left the hallway light on, lay in bed staring at the ceiling listening for footsteps that never came. Next class was Tuesday again. I almost skipped, told myself I had food poisoning or something. But Caleb wanted proof, wanted to see if it came back, said he'd drive to campus himself if I didn't go. I went. It was there, same seat when I arrived early, same nod when I sat down, same, "Hey man, rough weekend?" like it remembered our last conversation. I just nodded, couldn't speak much, kept my eyes on my screen. Halfway through another story posted from the real Caleb's account, him at the grocery store near his place, holding a basket with cold medicine and soup cans. Caption, "Finally feeling human enough to eat something." Posted 2 minutes ago. I looked left, slow. The thing was watching the professor, taking notes like always, pen tapping the notebook the same rhythm Caleb has when he's concentrating. I haven't gone back to class since that night. I emailed the professor some excuse about a family emergency, dropped the course with a W on my transcript that I can't get back. Caleb did the same, told the advisor he had ongoing health issues. We don't talk about it much anymore when we text, but we both deleted Instagram completely, changed our numbers just in case, moved apartments within a month of each other. He's in Cleveland now with his girlfriend. I'm in Dayton in a studio that feels too big sometimes. We text once in a while, careful conversations about jobs or weather, never about that semester or the thing that wore his face. I still don't know what was sitting next to me those nights. I don't know if it's still out there wearing his face, or someone else's now, sitting in some other class waiting for the lecture to start. I don't know how many classrooms it's been in since, how many people it's talked to like it belonged. All I know is every time I see someone who looks a little too much like a friend I knew once, I look away fast and keep walking.